Hi, Tormod here in Norway, and I want to talk about psychiatry and treatment and schizophrenia. For me, today, one of the most important things to realize or to change that I want to change, one of the most important things that I want to change about psychiatry is for the doctors and the scientists to wake up from their brain fog, because so many funds and science is based on the brain and the brain only, like focusing on the energies, the chemicals, the reactions, the processes in the brain. And to some extent that is interesting, yes, but way too much focus have been only on the brain, about how the brain operates or what we believe about the brain. So, you know, what I've been working on the last almost 10 years now is a holistical approach to schizophrenia, to psychology, to psychiatry. A holistical approach. And I'm living proof that this way of approach is successful. I used to be a deeply suffering schizophrenic with massive problems, addictions, and issues and problems, basically. I used to be that, driven by these gruesome beliefs about fears and paranoia and deep anxiety, a war inside my mind, inside my head, basically, between personalities, between me and myself, basically, speaking in the mind. So what I've been doing the last 10 years is I've been taking out all these personalities one by one and writing out what they're made of, what the personality is consisting of, to the very detail, to the very core of the personality, to the very end of the personality, so that I can live and breathe as the physical flesh, as the blood and the organs and the muscle and the solidity of the physicality of me. I can be that instead of being some energy, polarity, personality in the mind, because that is, like we know, an illusion. And there's some of the clue to why I think we need to change the focus from researching and giving into massive research about the brain, and changing that to a holistical perspective, going into the self, into the home, into the body, and looking at the whole human being in a holistical way, and not just get lost in the labyrinth of the mind and the brain, because the brain and the mind, it's the same kind of area, basically, and but much of the same automation is working there. The mind has also been in control of the body, yes, but it's a very key point to get out of the mind, out of the head, get out of the thinking, and into the physical sanity, the sound, the water, the blood, the tissue that is life, and not some imaginary mind system. Okay, imaginary mind system that has been governing our reality as we know it. An imaginary mind system that has been governing our reality as we know it to this day. So I would like for all psychiatrists and psychologists, researchers and healthcare assistants and everybody to investigate themselves, how they are locked and stuck in a mind. Because all human beings on earth have for all times basically been driven and controlled and possessed by their mind system. All human beings. And we need to realize how extensive this has have been to us as individuals, because it's been beyond, okay? In the last 100 years, we've been seeing a massive compounding of this, increase of focus, of attention, of extremity, of how we are locked inside the prison of our mind. And if we look at the religious view of the mind, it is like the spiritual, the high, the white light, the energy, the spiritual, that's how the godliness of the white light mind, imaginary mind, which is like the spiritual or the religious view, which is a lost case basically, because it's just a white light that it's because we have now come to a point that we realize ourselves as this, as ourselves as physical self-awareness, as the actually divine, the physical living flesh. Physical self-awareness is the actual divine, the reality of things, the haven we have within, the heaven within, and not some imaginary fling white light beam, because that is non-reality. That is imaginary, though it has been controlling us since the beginning of time. So this is a massive operation I'm describing. It's a massive and complete operation and process I'm here sketching out for you guys, because it is here. It is a zeitgeist. It is a matrix. It is everything opening up. The process of self to forgive the self, for the mind taking possession of the physical, for the mind taking possession of the physical, to forgive all those polarities, okay, and realize self as the living physical body as self, the beingness within, the flower, the flame, the bear, the dragon, the phoenix bird, the godliness within ourselves, in our garden, in our home, in the physical flesh, and not some imaginary fling mind, because that will work its way in here and become in the big oneness of self. Okay? So, I'm asking for... I've been working through my schizophrenic mind for 10 years. And I have seen massive, and you can tell by look of me, that I've been going through transition compared to what I was 10, 12, 13, 15, 20 years ago. I'm a totally different, changed man from then to today. So I'm the living proof that this very holistical way of speaking and writing and sounding self-forgiveness is proof. Because if not, I wouldn't be here, basically. It saved my life many times, me forgiving myself. Realizing myself as one and equal to all of life, basically. As I carry this utopia, this inner garden inside myself, that I would like to see from the within to the without, to create a good life for all on earth, a new money system, everything to create that utopia, to create that heaven on earth. That is why we're here, folks. And that is why I say equal money system. Because we're all of equal value. And the mind and the systems in mind have made it complex, made it very complicated and difficult to be human, to be alive. The mind and the conscious, subconscious, unconscious, quantum mind, quantum physical, all these dimensions have made it very difficult to be human, to be life. So what we need to do is walk a self-forgiveness process to be able to realize ourselves, empower ourselves as living beings, as living humans, living creators. We can create that greatness we carry within into the life that we want to see to flourish, to blossom, like that inner bear, that inner dragon, that inner phoenix bird, whatever creature you have in here that is your divinity, basically. It represents you on a universal level, whatever that might be. So play around with that and see what you make some drawings perhaps, or and do some writings on that. I recommend that. So from what's evident for me within psychiatry in particular is that we need more perspective, a broader perspective, and to include more types of therapy. Traditional Chinese medicine included in psychiatry, new German medicine including in psychiatry, acupuncture, yoga, kinesiology. Ask me about kinesiology and I'll give you an amazing opportunity to check out some cool folks working with kinesiology. It's beyond. You can take my word for it. It's the kinesiology service that I've discovered through a friend of mine who's working with this is beyond. Okay, homeopathy included in psychiatry. All sorts of therapy, not just chemicals. We need, most of us, many of us, like myself, still need chemical therapy. But we need also all sorts of other types of therapy included in the medicine that we need. We all need, because we have all been sick from being polluted by our mind system into our living. So it's a wakening up, it's a zeitgeist, matrix, wakening up, all of that stuff. And this is the last call, to realize self, okay? Because we're changing this from the bottom up. And yes, we want to create utopia. Yes, we want to create a good life for all people. And it starts with one person. One, I'm one, you are one, there's one. Like we start with one guy, one person at a time, to realize self as life, realize self as oneness and equality as life, and from there we can create utopia, heaven on earth, equal money system, a good life for all. It's in the making, okay, and we are here to walk it through. So what I suggest to do, to get another perspective, let's create the kind of a world that we ourselves would like to be born back into. That's the perspective. So psychiatry needs to include more types of therapy, because it's been a massive, for instance, one of the main focuses of psychiatry and psychology have been the brain, which is in the area of the mind, if you look at it holistically, and so on. And therefore, very much of those millions of dollars spent on science on the brain is actually, pseudoscience at best, because up here is the mind consciousness system, and we need to look at the whole human, what it needs, the wholeness of things, to include all sorts of medicine from the East. We need that because the medicine from the East very much emphasizes the health starts from within self. Western standardized medicine is very much based on the germ theory and the outer influence. That's how I understand it so far. I'm studying this still. But for me, one of the biggest things to wake up compels have been to realize that if if things happen to me, it's because I carry it from within from before. If things happen to me, if I get sick or things happen to me, it's because I'm carrying it already within myself. So that good health starts from within. So, yeah. If you want to know, have questions about schizophrenia or my view on psychiatry or medicine or whatever, feel free to ask me questions. I'm the proof in the pudding that a process of self-forgiveness is the actual big deal. I cannot emphasize that enough. So, yeah. I greet you from my garden, from my inner sanctuary. And I hope you have a nice day, and I'll be seeing you around.